Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Broken Berean. Today, we're going to touch on an article that I came across this afternoon about Belarus. And that's not a country that gets mentioned a lot, unless you watch like documentaries on war crimes and dictators and things like that. Most people don't even know where Belarus is. It's right between Poland and Russia. So it became free back in 1994, give or take, and they had they elected Lukashenko. Lukashenko, I may be pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. As president, and he has been president since 1994. Yeah, no term limits. And I believe, according to the Wikipedia page, the definition it is a presidential democracy under a dictatorship, is how they labeled the government. Lukashenko is a dictator of Belarus, and there are multiple countries that have sanctions against Belarus to prevent access to major supply chains, uh, international banking, things like that. So they've had a lot of stuff going on. Belarus is not a kind country to its people. This being said, they introduced a new law, and the Baptists are kind of happy about it, and I say happy because it's not as bad as the last one. That's why they're happy. It's not as bad as the last one. Basically, all religious organizations, um, whether at a church, convent, any other type of synagogue or anything like that, has to register with the government, and they have to have certain guidelines. So the founding church has to have like 20 founding members, and this is really hard for churches to build or meet as a church in a lot of these small rural towns because they don't have 20 people that want to meet. They have like 10, 15. So they are not allowed to meet. And registering, it's not like here in the US, like religious organizations register with the government for basically tax purposes. Uh, the government does not dictate what can be said inside a church service, inside a religious service, how or what they do in any type of religious meeting, no matter what the denomination, no matter what the religion, or what non religion. They don't, the US government at this time does not interfere with that. But Belarus is. If they can deny your permit as a religious organization to meet, and if you meet anyways, you're going to jail. And it doesn't specify time. I mean, I don't know if it's a year, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know. And this is one of those things we have to be aware of as people who do not face this type of discrimination in our own country. There are countries that do have this problem. We have to watch this. We have to stand up for this. So we have to take a look at what's going on in Belarus and see what's happening. They have to re-register starting this summer, and they have a year to fill out all the paperwork. So I don't know if this is going to be one of those trying to clean house or not, or try to specify, push out different religions. Lukashenko considers himself an Orthodox Christian, Eastern Orthodox Christian, which was one of the splits between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox. They kind of split, and I don't remember the time frame. I remember a little bit studying about it, but I don't remember enough to give a full explanation. But you can look it up, and it's an interesting thing. They're very similar, just Eastern Orthodox doesn't have a pope. So I believe the breakdown is like 90% Christian, but 90% of that, it's like 87% Eastern Orthodox and like 6%, or whatever the remainder is, Baptist. And then a few other various Roman Catholic, um, and a few other smaller religions. That's the religious breakdown. It is largely an Eastern Orthodox country in its religious makeup. I don't know if this is a move to push out everyone that's not Eastern Orthodox, since Lukashenko claims to be Eastern Orthodox, but is also a dictator and rules his country with an iron fist. I don't know. I mean, this is one of those things. Belarus just doesn't pop into my head. It never gets mentioned on the news and things like that. It it it's one of those countries that's slowly like abusing its people, but it's so small and no one's talking about it. We just forget about it. So I'm going to start praying this year for Belarus because they've been under this dictator for, gosh, nearly 30 years. It is 30 years this year, isn't it? Yeah, 94 to 2024. That's 30 years under the same rule of a single person. That scares me to death because it doesn't allow for the free thinking and the free motivation to explore new ideas. Because if they contradict the leader, the dictator in charge for the 30 years, you don't get to be permitted to speak anymore. So this is one of those things that we've got to be aware of. It does happen. It is happening now in the world. We have to be on the lookout to prevent it from happening elsewhere and pray and see what can be done to reverse this. And I don't know. I'm not a foreign policy person. I don't know much about everything that's going on in Belarus, but I do know that this singular issue is wrong, because the steps are basically leading up to the fact that if you attend a certain religious organization's meeting or service that the president doesn't like, you end up in jail. There's other countries that I won't mention that do this to this day. There's countries that have camps full of Muslims because they're Muslims. There's countries that have camps full of Christians because they're Christians. This is a very dangerous path that Belarus is on, and I pray and continue to pray, starting today, that the people of Belarus will get their religious freedom back, freedom from government control, allow them to worship in their religious faith that they believe in the way they want to. And it's a real sad article. I mean, I'll post the link in the description below so you can check it out yourself. But I will say this. I don't think this is the last time we're going to see it this decade. I have my suspicions what countries might do this based on other topics I've been searching over the past year. But I have a good hankering that I know which ones are going to try this next. And we can't let it happen. We can't let freedom of speech and freedom of religion be squashed anywhere in this world. Those are the most two important things that every human on this planet should have a right to. A right to a belief in their own faith, and the right to speak about their faith. That is paramount. So, give it a quick read. Read up on Belarus. It'll surprise you. It's a country you probably never heard of, but you really need to. So pray for Belarus. Pray for the people of Belarus. Don't know what to pray. I'm just going to pray for them. So until next time, I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it.